Hello guys, and welcome to Simulated Heaven. I thought I'd do a quick what I think video on iRacing. This will not be a professional review, this will just be me giving you my ideas about what I feel about this racing game. It's a racing simulation game. I'm really into racing games, especially the realistic ones, the simulations and stuff. I've been playing iRacing now on and off for a good maybe 3 years, so I feel that as you can see, I'm actually doing a video of a practice. I'm spectating a practice, and I thought this would give you a good view of the graphics.
Oh, you're fine, buddy. Don't worry.
I would say that the graphics in this game are really nice for a simulation game. Not absolutely the best, but pretty good. They're pretty clear. The graphics are nice and clear and crisp. The tracks have good detail. I would just say that maybe they need to look into adding more smaller touches. For example, you only ever race at daytime. You never race in the late afternoon, evening, or night time, or there's no real change in the weather or anything. It just always, stays like this. So they need to look into those smaller details. The lighting and everything is okay. I mean, they're always improving it, but I wouldn't say it's the best game graphically in the simulation world, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The sound as well. The sound design is good, but again, it's not amazing. I play some other racing games where I feel that the sound is much better. Now, where this game really holds its own is it's basically built up a very large community of racers. When it is busy at like peak periods, you can get anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000 people online who are racing. So that means that you can always find a race. You can always find someone who you can race with, which is great. And also all of the leagues and the series and everything is automatically there. Everything that you are doing in this game is automatically recorded, and you can have a look at your stats. You can look at where you are in leagues, whereas if you do that in other games, you have to actually organize it outside of the game. For example, R Factor, if you are doing a league, it's organized outside of the game, whereas in this game all of that kind of competitive racing is closely organized within the game. So that's really awesome. I think it's the only game that will successfully do that, and that's the thing that keeps me coming back to this game, because it's not the best simulation, but it's the best at providing you with competition, with races online, like most of the time. You know, there's always, even at a quiet time, you can usually always find a race, which is great. Now, when I say that this is certainly not the best game, there are some other things. I've already talked about the graphics and the sound. I feel the force feedback in this game is good, but again, it's just not the best. It's not the absolute tip-top, but it's pretty good. I mean, the feeling, I'm using a T500 RS, and I used to use a G27 with this game, and I find that both of these wheels got good force feedback. They felt real nice, but not absolutely tip-top. There are other games out there. I would say R Factor 2 has a better force feedback feeling through your steering wheel. Even a game like Game Stock Car 2012, I believe, has a better feeling through the steering wheel. I mean, they do have the laser scan tracks, so it is kind of good that you feel every single little bump in the track how it ought to be. But yeah, they should hopefully work on things like force feedback to try to get it a bit higher. Now also, the car handling, which obviously is very important, they introduced a new tyre model, I think about a year ago, and that has really helped them to get their handling a bit better. The tyre model now is much better in that you feel that the car is more planted on the track. You can kind of predict what is going to happen more. It's still not perfect. It's not the best tyre model out there, but it's improving all the time. It's much better than it was with the old one in iRacing. I think the thing that's great is before there were certain cars which, when you got them out of shape, would basically they would be impossible for you to get back under control. Whereas with this new tyre model, you feel like you do have a way of getting the car back into control, and it's more predictable and more realistic. Again, I'll say again, it's not the best, but it's much better, and they're always working on it. They're taking feedback, trying to get it better all the time. So I would say that overall this game is not the perfect game, but I think if you're into racing online and if you like the simulation style, this is like an MMO for you guys, because it takes a lot of practice for you to be good at this game. You can't just come into this game and think that you're going to be able to do it easily, especially if you have come from games like Forza, GT5, or even some slightly more arcadey PC games, or maybe the Codemasters F1 games. If you're coming from those kind of games expecting that you're going to come here and do really well right from the off, that usually isn't the case. It will take you hours of practice for you to get fast enough, because it's always a good idea that you feel very comfortable in a car and that you're fast enough that you're not going to get in the way of other drivers. So this is why I call it an MMO for racing games, because you can essentially play this game like so many hours every day. Like there are people that only play this game. They don't play any other game. They spend hours practicing. So I think that the bottom line is, if you like simulation racing games on the PC, I would say this is a must own. Now, the only other thing that people might not be happy with is the fact it's quite expensive. You have to pay around $12 a month to get access to the game, and then you have to pay, I think you get about 5 or 6 free cars and about 5 or 6 free tracks. Any other cars and tracks you need to pay extra for, somewhere between $12 and $15 each. Now, some people don't like that, and that's like a barrier to entry for some people. They don't want to be paying that kind of money. But I think the reason they have actually done this is because they want to make the game like a serious game. They want to get rid of people who are not serious about racing. And for me, because I'm really into these kind of games, I think it's really worth it, because I would pay that amount of money just to get access to the quality of racing that I get in iRacing. I play other games, and I very rarely, well, basically all that happens in most other games is you find a server, you go on the server and you race on the server. The races that you do don't really have a meaning, whereas in iRacing they all have a meaning, and it's straight off of the bat. You don't have to go out and find a league, join a league. It's right there. So for me, I think it's worth it, but for some people they don't think the price is very good. So that's really a personal thing, and how serious you are on these kind of games. I really like the way that the website is evolving. Basically, this game, the hub of the game is run from a website, like a member website, then when you join a race, the game opens. And there's a lot of really useful tools on there for you to track your performance, to manage what races you would like to do, and all these kind of things. You can add friends on there, and you can see when your friends are doing a race. You can spectate that race, or obviously you can join a race if it's available. So that side of the game is always improving and very good. I suppose one more thing I should talk about is the licensing in this game. Well, I mean the racing license in this game. You have to improve something called your safety rating. So every time you do a race or a time trial or a qualifying, the game will basically calculate how clean you are. If you're very clean, your safety rating will go up, and therefore you'll get access to higher licenses and then more powerful cars. If you are crashing a lot, causing incidents going off of the track, then your safety rating will go down, and the reverse will happen. When you're in a race, anything that you do incorrectly, like if you crash or you go off track, a little green text thing will come up at the top of your screen just to let you know. Obviously that's only in effect in a race, which is an official race, or a qualifying, or a time trial. This right now is a practice. Practices are a really good way for you to be with a lot of other cars and see if you're very comfortable in the car with loads of other people around you without the risk of affecting your SR. But I think that's a really good system, because it means that people can only drive the powerful cars when they have the appropriate amount of skill. This means that the racing is some of the cleanest I've ever had on iRacing. It's not always, but usually quite often, the higher that you go up in the classes, the more clean the races are. So that's another really good factor for this game. So that was basically my view of this game. I might not have covered everything that is to do with this game, but I'm just kind of giving you my thoughts and what I feel about the game. And also, I'm just going to say one more thing before I finish the video. If you are interested in this game, you can usually get some quite good offers for new members. You can often get something like 3 months for the price of 1, or something like that. You should look on the iRacing website, and they will have them on there, all these offers for new members. Or there's a website called InsideSimRacing.tv, I believe. That's another really good place where they often have exclusive offers for this game, so you might want to have a look on there and on the iRacing website if you're interested in the game. If there's anything I've not answered, or if there's an area that you'd like to ask me, feel free to leave a comment, or you can even send me a personal message and I will answer. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be doing other videos on iRacing. I think I will be uploading some of my races and things like that. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.